What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and I'm back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And welcome back to my series, A Closer Look. And today, we're going to take a closer look at the Fulani people. And as always, if you want access to full courses, exclusive videos, or if you simply want to support the home team, you can do so on patreon.com. Also, go to afrographics.com, a website where you can find unique illustrative infographics summarizing African history. All the basic information you need is neatly compiled for you there, including sources for all articles posted. It's a really good resource and introduction to African history for beginners. The link to Patreon and Afrographics is in the description box below. The Fulani number around 40 million people, and they're one of the largest ethnic groups in West Africa. The Fulani are spread across many countries in West Africa, but they also reside in Central and Eastern Africa. Ironically, even though the Fulani are one of the largest groups in Africa, they're not the majority in any country they live. A more proper way to address a Fulani is the word Fulbe. The Fulbe are called by many names by their neighbors, such as Pure, Fula, Fulani, Falata, and many more. The Fulbe as a whole are largely considered as a semi-sedentary people. However, one popular subgroup of the Fulbe people, called the Wudab, remain nomads. Popular characteristics of the Fulbe population tends to be their slightly lighter skin, longer hair, and generally more alkaline features. Although these features are popularized as being typical Fulbe features, the Fulbe population is not homogeneous. Their features are very diverse, and in some regions, they can be nearly indistinguishable from their West African neighbors. This fact proves that the Fulbe people were always on the move and mixed in with the populations in which they settled. Theories on Fulani origins can range from outlandish, superficial, to even plausible. According to Mausalam, a Fulbe historian, the origin of the Fulani is ancient Egypt. His argument is that the Fulani, because of chaos and disorder, found their way from Eastern Africa out of the Nile Valley across the Sahel to Senegal. However, most scholars actually reject this idea. One plausible idea about the origins of the Fulani is that they simply originated in North Africa, as some scholars point to clear Fulbe culture on the rock paintings in Algeria. But a more accepted theory is that the Fulbe originated in the region of Senegal because their language is closely related to Wolof. Most Fulbe are Muslims and converted to the religion relatively early. Some scholars believe that Islam almost completely eradicated any form of traditional pastoral Fulbe beliefs. Their traditional African religion isn't really well known. However, one pre-Islamic Fulbe belief system exists concerning a cow god. Practicing cow worship, the Fulbe believed that Jeno, the supreme being, created the universe from a drop of milk, and a pantheon of deities oversaw animal husbandry. One cultural hero of the Fulbe is Goroba Dike. The story of Goroba Dike is classic Fulbe mythology. The hero of several Fulbe legends was Goroba Dike, a member of the Ardo royal family. Being a younger son, Goroba Dike had no inheritance. He was so angry because of his lack of status that he left the land of the Ardo and wandered around the lands of the Bambara people in a destructive mood. Out of fear, the Bambara gave Goroba Dike's bard gold and begged him to help them. The bard convinced Goroba Dike to return to his own people who owed him a kingdom. In order to determine the situation in Ardo, Goroba Dike disguised himself as a peasant and went to work for a blacksmith. The smith told him that Kodi Ardo, the daughter of the king Hamadi Ardo, wore a tiny ring on her little finger. She had declared that she would marry only the man whose finger the ring would fit, someone with the delicate bones of a true Fulbe. Men came from all over to try to fit the ring on their fingers, but it fit none of them. Goroba Dike, still dressed in rags, was the last to try, and the ring fit. Kodi Ardo protested that she could not marry a ragged, filthy peasant. Her father insisted that she had set the test, and Goroba Dike had passed it. The two were married. The Berdama or Tuaregs had been stealing the Fulbe cattle, so Hamadi Ardo sent his army against them. Mounted on a donkey, Goroba Dike left to join the battle, with his wife jeering at him. During the battle, he transformed himself into a richly dressed warrior on a splendid horse. He agreed to help the king's son-in-law win the battle if each of them gave him one of their heirs in payment. After each battle, Goroba Dike changed back into a peasant riding a donkey. At one point, the Berdama or Tuaregs kidnapped Kodi Ardo. Goroba Dike, in his heroic form, rescued his wife, but was badly wounded. Not recognizing him as her husband, Kodi Ardo bound up his wound with a part of her dress. That night, Kodi Ardo saw that her husband had been wounded, and she recognized the cloth that covered his wound. When she asked her husband for an explanation, he revealed that he was the son of a king. He displayed the ears he had taken to prove that he was a hero of the battles. In gratitude, King Hamadi Ardo handed over his kingdom to Goroba Dike. And that is the legend of Goroba. Until the 11th century, the Fulani practiced a traditional pastoral life on the western fringes of the Wagadu Empire. With the fall of Wagadu in the 11th century, a new Islamic state known as Tekrur arose in the Senegal Valley, and many Fulbe for the first time adopted a settled existence. They emerged with the settled population to form a Fulbe-speaking subgroup known as the Tukulor. Because of their presence in Tekrur and their new Islamic vigor, many Fulbe, along with other Mandate groups, were soldiers in the Almoravid army. In other words, the Tekrur Fulbe were one of the ethnic groups that made up the Almoravid Moorish regiment. By around the 14th century, Fulbe groups had begun to gradually migrate southward and eastward from their proposed origin in Senegal. By the 15th century, they had arrived in Guinea and Mali. A century later, they arrived in Hausaland and Bornu in Nigeria. As the Fulbe began to move and interact with other people, they began to take up slightly different identities. Most Fulbe, known as the Fulani Bororo or Cattle Fulani, maintained a traditional pastoral lifestyle. Others, however, known as the Fulani Gida or Town Fulani, took up a settled existence in the towns and kingdoms of Mali, Songhai, and the Hausa states. Many Fulbe after some time became overzealous in their Islamic faith and began jihad on other African ethnic groups. They created various kingdoms in West Africa, but the most powerful by far was the Sokoto Caliphate in northern Nigeria. In northern Nigeria today, the Fulani Gida have gradually merged with wealthy Hausa people, forming a new group, sometimes referred to as the Hausa Fulani. This group is largely regarded as the ruling class of northern Nigeria. Many people, for whatever reason, assume that the Fulbe weren't taken in the Atlantic slave trade, and that simply isn't true at all. The Fulbe were victims and victimizers of the Atlantic slave trade. Many notable enslaved Fulbes were very wealthy people like Ayuba Diallo, Abdul Rahman Ibrahim Ibn Sori, and Omar Ibn Said, just to name a few. Contrary to popular belief, many of us in the diaspora have Fulbe ancestry either on our paternal or maternal lines. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to support in its continued production, you can go to patreon.com. You can also check out Afrographics.com for illustrative infographics on African history. Links to Patreon and Afrographics are in the description box below. Know thyself, remember your ancestors. Peace.